And Shams has jumped in with breaking news just
The news you shape the stunner for the
by Giannis Antetokounmpo, and quite candidly, it could reshape the entire NBA as we know it. Shams, huge audience joining us here at the top of the hour. What is the news this morning?
Green, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two-time NBA MVP, he has not made any firm decisions about his future, but sources tell me for the first time in his 12-year NBA career, he is open-minded about whether his best fit is in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere and exploring what those options outside of Milwaukee look like. Is it sensible for him to potentially leave? And I'm here in Chicago. This is the summit of Giannis Antetokounmpo. All 30 decision makers are descending upon this city now. Agents all in town. There's going to be plenty of natural, substantive conversations that are going to be taking place here. And we've known over the last several years, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been very open-minded about at least expressing that he is going to explore options because his goal is to win a championship. He said it over the years that my goal, I only want to win and compete for rings. He said it on his brother Sanati's podcast last month that if I retire without winning a second championship, he's not going to be able to essentially sleep at night. And so if that's his goal, what is that best long-term fit? And for the Bucks part, of course, they want to continue to build around Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they're going into an offseason where they have one first-round pick that they can trade 6 years from now. They don't necessarily have cap space. They have top-heavy salaries. And again, that $54 million contract on their books for next season with the Damian Lillard, whose season is in jeopardy next year with that Achilles tear. So Giannis, for the first time as a Milwaukee Buck, is open to exploring what it looks like potentially outside of Milwaukee.
And obviously, the Warriors come as a strong chance, or at least a strong will. We know the Warriors have tried, have checked, have monitored Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you saw the game last night, you know that the Warriors are on the brinks. We are heading to elimination, 3-1 Timberwolves. They had a huge third quarter last night. We're going to talk about this. I still think, as I said last video, there's a lot on Draymond Green. And I do think that talk about Giannis, Draymond Green plays a massive part because he might be the one involved on this. Look, there's many options, right? Giannis has a massive salary, which the Warriors cannot just absorb it. The Warriors have some first-round picks that you could throw to make it interest, but they are also like 26, 7. They are long-term ones. We have a lot of assets. One thing we know for sure, and especially if the season is over on Wednesday when we play Game 5 against the Minnesota, it will be a very shakeable summer for the Warriors, where we can expect that the roster will be completely different for the next season. We are seeing in the game as last night how much we have a very young core, which is unreliable, which some games provide you a 20, 30 points, and the other game, it doesn't show up, it doesn't hit anything. And I'm talking, for example, about Brandon Porzingis, Quinten Post, that has been like a completely no-show in this playoffs, Tracy Jackson, ups and downs. So the Warriors will need to find those extra options to make Stephen Curry be able for another title run. We know the same way that Giannis is very competitive, that Stephen Curry also is. And there's something in common which makes the Warriors fans excited about Giannis looking for options outside the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's what happened in the past. It's not the first time that he got linked with the Warriors, right? And this is a little bit of old news, but when Stephen Curry had the celebration of the All-Star game that was in San Francisco, Giannis was the only one that participated outside the Warriors organization, players, and whoever was there. There was another situation where Giannis was online, on internet, social media, and then a fan told him to go to the Golden State Warriors, and he didn't deny. He just made like that face of, well, would that be a possibility? So it definitely has interest, and I think in the worst case, obviously, all the 30 teams will at least check on Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? He's one of the top players, probably top 3, top 5. You would argue right now in the league. He has one ring in his portfolio. He knows how to get there, and he knows he wants to get more. And he can definitely change any team from a mid-level to a title run contender. And the Warriors for sure, if he's pairing with Stephen Curry. Right? He have played together in some of the All-Star games in the same team. And it would be interesting to see. But it would take the Warriors a lot as well. Before we jump, we're going to look at the salary cap. Let's see what happened last night, because the impact and the results of the Timberwolves against the Warriors in this playoff series, where we lost Stephen Curry and then basically changed the whole season for us, it will result directly on how the summer will be and how much the Warriors organization will be willing to give up to bring Giannis to the Bay Area. So take a look on what happened in the third quarter last night.
It all turned in that fateful third quarter for the Warriors, who led at the half, and then
Jorgo remains until halftime.
In the third, outscored 39
29 at 9 in 8 minutes. That destroyed the Warriors. We could never come back.
minutes of the quarter into the game.
And I said that
Minnesota
online
29
last night, that I don't think the roster right now, especially Stephen Curry, has the power, has the mental power to come back from a situation like that. When they were down 20 points, 17 before that, I actually up those messages, and I said, I don't see who could lead the Warriors mentally to build back on that gap, right? The 17 points, 22 points that was at some point, just because I don't see any reliable player right now. Buddy Hield is up and down, Brandon Porzingis is up and down, Moses Moody has been down for a while, Clinton Post no-show in the playoffs, Draymond Green's not a scorer, hasn't been playing his best game, gets involved on problems, and I think, again, I'm going to talk this in a second, I do think that Draymond Green might be having his last games as a Warriors player. And if the Warriors are trying to pursue another superstar to potentially even pair with Jim Butler or Stephen Curry, because I'm not discarding the possibility of Jim Butler being involved in this trade for Giannis, which I do think is an upgrade, undeniable, and opposite to what I thought when the trade was made. Butler had an impact on the Warriors, but Giannis is an upgrade, right? In my opinion. So I think that if it goes to the summer with the Warriors losing at against the Minnesota on tomorrow on game 5, not having a staff and the rest of the team not being capable to win at least one game, I think even Jim Butler, it's on the table for a potential trade. But I'm more likely, in my opinion, would be Draymond Green, because when you look at the season and you look how much money Draymond Green will actually make, he is up for look what he said before I go to this.
Last game too. How do you generate enough offense basically in 2025 when it doesn't seem like you guys can get up that many threes?
Yeah, I think number one, everybody got to be ready to shoot. You know, you get the open one, you got to let it go. I think sometimes we're passing some up.
Everybody includes him, right?
At times, the first good look oftentimes will be the best look. You know, and when you got Steph out there, you can turn down looks because you can go and play on the backside, and he creates causes so many dominoes to fall. But when he's not, you turn down that first open look and then go looking for something else, and it may not open up again. You know, and so I think starters, we got to take the first open ones.
And
they mildly
should including himself.
You know, but if they're open, you got to let it go. So. I think that's where it starts for us.
I'm putting the box score where I make this comment, that including himself, and the whole season, Draymond Green is not a scorer. And when you look to Giannis, he make almost twice what Draymond Green makes. Draymond Green is a great defensive player, but we know all the problems that come with it. I think it's getting to a point, and considering the rest of the roster, that we need to build the cap space, because next year the apron should jump to 195. This year it's around 181. So, but you still have to Kuminga. What do you do with him as well? Do you throw in the mix for the trade, or do you trying to retain him because he has been a potential or grow up, and then you give up on Draymond? Draymond's 28, I think he's doing next year. It's a big amount of money for someone that doesn't score. Any other team in the league, if you're paying someone like this, it's a threat. It's an offensive threat as well, right? It's almost 30 million per year. And Draymond barely scored. One other game that he does 18, 16 points, so it's not enough. Like when you look to what happened in the game last night, it's just we couldn't score. At some point, we were holding the Timberwolves. We were doing great, forcing turnovers, doing great defensive plays, but then we couldn't score. Then you have BP that doesn't hit one shot. Like you have Buddy Hield that won an offense again. On game 4, the other game 30. Like it's unreliable. We need more reliable players. And that's why I think a lot of these guys won't be in the roster next season. So let's look at the salary cap because, again, I think everything is open here, right? The Warriors could throw so many options to bring Giannis. Could stay with Jim Butler. Will the Bucks try to force to get Kuminga as well in the mix? Can you potentially retain Kuminga? And then what would be Kuminga be willing to be paid to actually stay with the Warriors? Because right now he's set to do 10, but he's in that negotiation. And if you look to what the roster that the Warriors will have next year, we already have 181 if we retain everyone, including Draymond. When you imagine that the apron jumps to 195, that gives you only 14 million space, and you need to fulfill some space, right? Because the 181 doesn't include Pat Spencer, doesn't include Kevin Looney, doesn't include Gary Payton. I don't see any of those three players coming back unless it's a really low amount. Because right now the Warriors have 3 centers, none of them is fully reliable. Kevin Looney, Quinton Post, Trace Jackson. I think they're all open. Probably we're going to retain Quinton Post as the younger one. You expect to go more. But I do see Kevin Looney and Trace Jackson being thrown in the mix. Buddy Hield is a big salary set up to do 8 million, 9 million. And then you could throw somewhere else on that value. Draymond Green, 25 million. So you start combining those and throw some first round picks. You might stack the Milwaukee Bucks and convince that, right? There's so many options here, but I think everyone's on the table. Obviously, why I think the Jim Butler option for Giannis is less likely. You heard on the Shansharania was saying that the Bucks also don't have space to absorb a big contract. When you compare the salary for next year for Giannis and Butler, it's very like to each other, right? Giannis is set to make a little bit more, but then the Bucks wouldn't be able to receive a lot of other stuff from the Warriors and keep under the same amount, right? So I think it's as likely. And then I wonder, how would you set up this team to keep the flow with Stephen Curry and have Giannis, which is not a great three-point shooter. He shoots sometimes, but it's not a great three-point shooter. And then you also have Jim Butler. So you start changing that, and you don't have Draymond Green anymore, which make that ball movement. So it's an interesting possibility, but I think it's very likely to happen, especially if things goes as are going right now, where the entire roster is showing that they cannot keep up with the offensive power without Stephen Curry. So I want to know your thoughts there. Do you think that the Draymond Green time with the Warriors is heading to an end? I know he's a player that it's debatable, that there's love and hate there, but I want to know what you think. Do you think that the Warriors should be ready to part ways with Draymond Green? I know all the history, all the rings, everything that he brought to the table, but it might be the best solution for the Warriors right now if we're still trying to make something for Stephen Curry and give him another title contention, another title run. Let your comments there. Have a great day.